they say that we made a choice. Coming from a gay point of view, we haven't made a choice, it's how we are.
This is an issue to do with them and their discomfort around issues of homosexuality.
I really can't agree with people who say this is just our opinions foisted on the Bible. It's there in the clearest terms.
It's only a product of how they've been taught to believe over years. You know, that's not. I don't blame them. I think it's a shame that actually they're so narrow-minded.
It's not for us to judge. You know, actually, God's heart is bigger than anything we can put into place and decide. And it's not for us to say who's in and who's out.
Right from birth, really, I was brought up to two parents who were leaders of a Christian evangelical church in a small sort of rural location in Herefordshire, where I was brought up. My beliefs were very much forced on me, I suppose, that this was the life that I was expected to conform to. This was the type of religion that I was being brought up in. Not really any other options, and church 3 times on a Sunday, a very literal translation of what the Bible has to say about issues around sexuality, for example.
Jeremy is one of the 3.6 million gay people in Britain today. Though his sexuality to many of us is nothing to be ashamed of, debate dating back thousands of years is giving Christians across the country a reason to not come out of the closet.
Love is never a sin.
Well,
If God is love, so how can love be a sin? And therefore, loving somebody of the same gender is not a sin.
A religion that teaches love thy neighbour seems to come with hidden requirements. Being gay, in the eyes of some, isn't one of them. Since the legalisation of homosexuality in the 1960s, its acceptance within society has gone from strength to strength and become something many are proud of. Gay Christians, on the other hand, find themselves stuck in the past with limited options for a way out.
I really thought that deep down I could change myself and be different. So the fact that I was attracted to guys rather than girls, I thought, well, actually that's something that I could fix. It was a problem, but it was something that I could fix because there was no other option than to fix it.
Christian beliefs develop from the teachings in the Bible, some of which traditionally imply that homosexuality is a sin. 2,000 years on, and some vicars believe that as times change, so should Christian attitudes.
Really, society's changed more, and that, certainly in my experience of younger gay people in the church, they're not prepared to live with that. Yeah, the debate moves on, the reality moves on, people get more used to things, and then today you get the situation where, which I think is an absolute travesty, where people have more rights outside of the church than they do within. There is more justice outside of the church than there is within it, and I think that's absolutely scandalous.
Phil's a member of Changing Attitude, a charity that works for the full inclusion of homosexuals within the church. Though gay Christians aren't fighting their battle for acceptance alone, some are part of exclusive groups for friendships and to discuss issues they face together. David, Clive and Mark are members of the Lesbian Gay Christian movement.
I think the thing that's amazed me in the course of my lifetime is that society has completely changed its attitude, not entirely, but so very considerably moved. Yes. But of course, the church, which formerly seemed comparatively liberal and was perhaps a safe haven for gay people who didn't make too much of a fuss, now has been exposed rather. The general society's moved on, and the church seems to have been rather left behind.
And the church is the biggest, I think, the biggest opponent of gay Christians.
In religious society.
In our society, in our religious society.
Yes, when I joined the church again, it was like stepping back 20 years. I got used to it being accepted elsewhere.
The church's issues with homosexuality is one that is all too familiar to Reverend Jane Tillier. Like gay Christians, women faced a similar struggle to find equality in the religion, with only Protestant churches currently allowing them to become vicars and priests. The problem with homosexuality, in Jane's eyes, is all too clear.
So for some people, there's a way of looking at their faith, which is a historic faith, I don't dispute that, but there's a way of looking at their faith that says, okay, I look back at how things have been and this is how they always have to be forever. And that's not necessarily helpful in a world which changes. Somebody who is having problems with women in ministry is likely to be someone as well, potentially, who has problems with gay Christians in the church and gay Christians in ministry, because they're saying, well, it hasn't happened before and it shouldn't happen.
The Bible is extremely clear on the subject. So, for example, let's stick to New Testament passages. Romans chapter 1 makes it abundantly clear that whether it's men with men or women with women, homosexual practice is something shameful.
Luke's traditional views span from the evangelical branch of Christianity. With every church representing different opinions on homosexuality, gay Christians seem to be left with no choice but to decide what to believe in for themselves.
I wouldn't tend to go to the evangelical side of the church because of their hard and fast black and white rules against being openly gay, living in a gay relationship and practicing a Christian faith.
I mean, those people I know who have been evangelical Anglicans, or evangelical anything, but particularly evangelical Anglicans, have been in the church context beforehand and desperately trying to come to terms with their sexual orientation. And I've met several people who've had a real struggle with that.
It was at 24 years old that I actually reached a point where I realised that actually my belief in my religion was actually, it wasn't actually real, that it was a product of what I was brought up as a child and the world that I was brought up in. I didn't actually believe it. It didn't mean anything to me. But actually what did mean something to me was the fact that I was somebody who was gay, and actually that I had to work through all of those issues and the guilt and the difficult conversations that I had to have with my parents. It was and still remains the worst day of my life. But that was something that I wanted to, that was something that I needed to go through. 8 years on, it's fantastic, and my relationships with them are so much better than they ever were, actually.
Despite their strong evangelical beliefs, Jeremy's parents saw him marry partner Ian 3 years ago.
We had sort of deferred it until I was fairly confident that they would come, which was great.
The passing of the Civil Partnership Act in 2005 granted same-sex couples with the rights of a civil marriage. Despite government approval, the divide in the church makes putting a religious stamp on a gay marriage a difficult matter.
I wouldn't do something that went against the parochial church council of my local church. But if a couple come to me and say, we want to have our civil partnership blessed, you know, we're effectively made that commitment to one another, and we're people of faith, and we want a prayer service to mark that, then I can't see any reason why the church shouldn't be doing that.
It took 2 minutes, I think, at a church meeting where they said, well, yes, everyone's welcome, everyone's equal, God loves us all.
Love sometimes is ready to say, no, actually, that's wrong. I think that's what God does with us, and he disciplines his children, and there's all kinds of things I might like to do, but which God has said no to, because he loves me and because he knows better, and he knows that these things are not actually good for me, even if I would like them. You just have to say in the end, it's God who decides.
I think the only kind of credible position of believing in God is of that kind of inclusive, all-embracing love, and that will win through.
I would hope that the evangelical branch of Christianity would be more accepting, more understanding that this is actually just how people are.
I just think, sadly, it's not going to happen this side of heaven.
So here's to moving forward.